Welcome to Game Woven, a collaborative world building actual play podcast building a world one game at a time. Today, we'll be continuing our world building series as part of Cosmic Century Nights, written by James D'Amato and Andrew Mergiewski. The coming episodes focus on building out the antagonists for our system. Well, look at the Fell Knights. For over 100 years, the Century Blades have graced your planet, and from them have come myths and legends. But for every heroic knight wielding a fabled blade in service of others, there are stories of those who have embraced a darker path. The Fell Knights are as you. They picked up a Century Blade, and with it came power and purpose, but that power came the embodiment of their most secret and base desires. Now they roam the lands, using their blades for selfish and cruel purposes. As a fell Century Knight, few can stand up to their abuse of power, but you can. Will you stand against them? Will you be the shield for the defenseless? Or will the call of the Fell Knight worm its way into your soul?
Oh, we gonna fight.
So,
Knowing my character, we gonna fight.
Oh, yeah.
so
we
can do two things that cross my mind to skip making a whole new faction if we don't want to make a whole new guy. We do have Inscrutable lying around, as just villains that exist, and we haven't gone into too deeply. So if we wanted to flesh them out into Fellow Knights, we could. And also maybe the first of 10's up to something, because we have a few villains sitting around that we could convert into this, you know. So depending on like what role they serve mechanically, we might be able to use one of those.
I would be very interested. I would be very interested in tying this order in with the first of 10, our true name villain, because he is going to be pretty important to the creation of the Century Blades. I think that would work really well.
Yeah, I think the Inscrutable feel more fitting to the last one, the tunnel maze chaos thing.
Oh, the Blight Labyrinth, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I like tying it in.
Fun implications.
Let's do some
aesthetics
time. So obviously there's going to be differences, but let's look at appearance. Choose two: armored, tatters, dark, opulent, formal, gleaming, fiery, organic, demonic, futuristic.
So do we want to lean into the first of 10 for this, or are we just going to make a new guy?
Yeah, I'm a little confused.
Well, actually, I think it might be more helpful to go into the aspects first.
Do we want to start with aspects and then go into aesthetics?
Yeah.
Because my thing.
Are we making a new thing, or is this going to be assigned to something else? Because if we're making a new thing, I do it in the order that's intended. I think that it's fun to be like, we don't know what the aspects are going to be.
Right.
We decide what the appearance and the behaviors are, and then we figure it out from there. If this is going with something else, or like something that already exists, then that's a different thing, right?
I kind of feel like this is something that we would need to make a new thing from, but we could have first of 10 be like tied into it. Like first of 10 is one of them, but it's more than just the first of 10. Because it's a faction, not just the individual, but the first of 10 could be a Fell Knight.
I think that's a good way of or even if like the first of 10 was like the secret mastermind behind the Fell Knights, like the first of 10 is still kind of half cooked anyway. So I think we are in make a new guy mode is where we're at.
Yeah. My only other thought was
we have our Palpatine. Let's build our Sith.
Yeah.
Ooh, true. Yeah. I'm not attached to whether or not we're using old stuff, new stuff. I was just trying to just ask.
My only other thought was the Brazen who are loyal to the Empire.
True.
Because they have magic swords.
I'd rather just
but they may not be the same kind of magic sword.
Yeah, though I will.
No, they're different magic swords.
I was gonna say, we were just talking about like filling in the blanks of like the ranks. They praising just be like captains or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh lord.
Okay.
So
let's. So then, shall we start with aesthetics then, and then go into aspects?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
All right. I'll read them out again. Appearance: choose 2: armored, tatters, dark, opulent, formal, gleaming, fiery, organic, demonic, futuristic.
Formal
I like
and demonic
formal.
would be a fun combination.
We have a
Formal
lot
and
of
demonic.
formal.
We
I was
have
gonna
a
say we
lot of
have a
formal.
lot
Yeah,
of formal.
I kind of feel like because again, if we're like really leaning in the primordial angle for the swords, I actually think that doing something that's more like organic or like something that's like more raw makes sense. That it's like you are giving into what the blade wants, and that has like brought you into whatever this like darkness is. And
Badass.
that being something that is a
Yeah.
lot
Tatters.
more. Speaking as someone who has a sword who like very wants bad things,
Yeah.
I think that.
Oh, you're talking about your
I think that
character, not
having
you
something-
personally.
Lol.
That's
Zad,
I mean, I haven't met Phase Blade.
Zad, you're trying to work your way in here.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of that, if we're gonna pick 2 that are leaning into that like primordial-ish, like, hey, this is the folks who, so like the Empire wants to, for instance, take the Dawnbreaker and the Titans so that the Empire can be everything. The Fellblades simply want the Dawnbreaker to be everything. That's their ultimate aim, is like they've positioned, like the Dawnbreaker is just their god. And the things that we know about the Blade Fall and the results of it are that it spurred this development in not quite arcanotech, but like it's made the magic so much more potent. And these are people who are engaging with that in such a raw form. Do we want to maybe call them organic and futuristic?
My brain was going towards fiery.
Same.
Almost like they get the Super Saiyan, like like the Super Saiyan flames when they sort of embrace the power of the blade and give into it fully.
Yeah, they're
So
fiery. I also had the thought of tatters because the blade is all that matters. The blade and the power that comes
rhymed.
with it, and expanding your power. That's
So-
all that matters.
my thing is in my mind there's like 2 different kinds of Fell Knights, or maybe we can make it so there's just one. But in my mind there's like people who have fallen prey to a evil sword, like a sword that wants bad things, and in my mind that feels like organic and demonic, of like the sword arm is like this massive like giant brute arm, and like it's like the sword being like fused to their hand and stuff, like kind of like almost like a little more like body horror-esque. And then there's like just bad people who are using the blade to do bad things because they are like just like villains, and in that it feels more like less like demonic in my mind.
That seems to me
So
like steps along a path.
Yeah,
Ooh.
You know?
the difference between someone twisting a blade and someone being twisted by the blade.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
well, and I mean, it's almost like smoking. Like, no matter how, like, if you smoke enough cigarettes, your lungs are gonna turn black. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Oh, Zad just wrote in the chat, draw too deeply of the blade and it changes you. Shit.
Yeah.
We've done it again.
We did it again.
One rule.
So I'm starting to lead towards, I don't know if we feel like organic or demonic feels more fitting for like that primordial corruption. But I'm
I feel like
feeling
demonic
one
has
of those
such a
in
like a really
tatters.
intense like connotation of what demons are, and I don't think that this is inherently something that is in like this sort of, I guess, like sinister nature that like demonic things have. Like I think that there is like in the way that nature just is primal, like there being this complete actual lack of like concern for anything other than what it wants and needs.
Mhm.
Whereas like something that's demonic is actually really invested in like what is trying to like corrupt you or change you or like what it's trying to get from you. Something that is primal doesn't care, and that is a way more terrifying thing to contend with. Also,
I want to
I
ask
like that a
Faye.
lot.
I want to ask,
Yeah, what's
since you're sort of walking us down this path. If I
I
were
love to walk down the villainous road.
we go.
Papa.
I love walking down a path with you and everyone here. If I were we go with the organic tag. If I were to see a Fell Knight,
Mhm.
what would I see that aesthetically distinguishes them? Like I'd be like, oh shit, that's a Fell Knight. Look how organic he is. Like, what am I looking at?
I think that sort of kind of in the way that Rob was saying, a little bit of not necessarily body horror exactly, like it doesn't need to be like fleshy, but there being some kind of way that you have like taken on like aspects of your sword. Like all of the swords have a very specific aesthetics and like materials that they're made of and whatever, and then it's like you are quite literally being changed by it into something, and that is growing from you like very like naturally, or like supernaturally, and not in a way that is necessarily super precise, because organic things just grow and there is symmetry in nature. Like that's true. I think that that's why you would see like a dual-sided blade, etc., etc. But there's also a wildness to it and like a desperation to it and a like this sort of like ferocity that is there,
Yeah. It's
that
almost like
just
you're
sort of
being
grows how it
infested.
wants. Yeah.
Yeah.
The sword is trying to turn you into its ideal wielder, whoever that is, which could also be connected with who created the sword.
I will say,
why it's created,
with what we've been saying, I feel like what we said so far, that narrative implies, for those who know what my character is, that kind of narrative implies my character is at least narratively a Fell Knight, if not.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there as a weird implication of what we just said.
Well, we need to remember that it's not that the sword is corrupting you, it's that you have the power of the sword and you decided then to just embrace what's already in you of just your secret and base desires. Like, this is what what I've wanted to do, and this sword gives me the ability to do it, so I'm going to be a destructive asshole or whatever.
I think, and I think it probably wouldn't apply to something like this because there is, even though the Crab King of the Caldera is a very unhinged figure, it's not. There isn't the primordial chaos built into it. Like it's not like there. It's not like it's crabs growing out of a person's body. It is. There is an order to it. It's mad. It's a mad order that makes no sense to us humans, but there is an order to it, a structure to it, a kind of elegance.
I'm watching Faye because Faye has not known what my character is until right now.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I didn't either.
Crab King of the Caldera. What are you? What the
You'll
fuck?
find out.
It means what it sounds like.
Whatever you're imagining,
Faye, fucking
more
find
literal.
out.
You need to be more literal.
Like I think
You're
it's
gonna
exactly what it
fucking
sounds
find
like.
out.
Faye, you're not thinking unhinged enough. Whatever you're thinking, I promise you.
Oh God. Help.
You're in the same party.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
To
good.
quote Dad, this is the most me character that's ever been made.
To circle us back, the vibes I'm feeling now is organic and dark.
Agreed.
I can work with that. Yeah, that sounds great.
I also feel like for Lex's character, you could I think you're maybe potentially could become a Fell Knight. You're like that path is the potential is there. You have not started down that path yet.
Any one of you.
Yeah, we could all become a Fell Knight.
Yeah, I think that's the point of this is that it is like you became the embodiment of their most
to be good
base desires. Like that's just that's what happened. Like that can happen to any hero.
Let's go to behaviors. Let's keep it moving.
No, I was gonna say one more thing about appearance. As maybe a pitch, because you're talking about organic and what that might look like. My brain started thinking of, I don't know if anyone here knows what the fuck I'm about to reference, Warframe, where everything
I know
there
Warframe.
is like armored, but it looks like it was grown.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like
kind of
everyone
vibes too, maybe.
Yeah, chitinous a lot, which isn't necessarily what we want for all of them, because from the sounds of it, each Fell Knight is unique from the sword. But that's what I was starting to imagine. Like the armor grew around them from the sword.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that stands to reason that could. Yeah, I think that could be that could be the thing that is happening, and that just looks different for like whoever it is. But that's where that it's almost like a cocoon.
Yeah,
it's like
kind of.
It sort of is. Well, I mean, it's transfer. That's what cocoons are for, right? It's like transformation.
If it's
so
cocoon,
like,
hey Ben, have fun deciding what's in the cocoon, what's gonna grow out of that.
It's goo.
Something cool and fun, probably. I think.
Yeah. It's
everyone
candy.
will like it. Like a
All right,
piñata.
behaviors. We choose 2: cruel, brutal, inflexible, selfish, chaotic, unhinged, nihilistic, emotionless, charismatic, enigmatic, sorrowful. I'm gonna call one. There's a free space here, and it's definitely selfish.
Sure.
Oh, my free space was going to be inflexible, because
fair.
like, I guess they're kind of similar,
Oh,
but like
yeah.
like nature is not flexible in like in how it operates, right? Like a snake's gonna be like, oh, you're having a hard day, so maybe I'm not gonna,
Oh no, that mouse is injured.
I would make the like pitch for emotionless if that's what we're gonna do. Because I think
it sounds like
that's
we're
something.
all dancing around the same thing. Just looking for the right word for it.
Right.
There is their behavior is there is a single-mindedness to it, because they've given into this central temptation, and it is taking them over.
What about brutal and inflexible?
Maybe, yeah.
I feel it.
Just because I think that this is interesting, what if, and hear me out, sorrowful?
Ooh.
I was also thinking sorrowful might be compelling.
Because like ultimately, like this is what we're talking about, is like the fall of someone. Like they are like succumbing to something that is very sad, like to lose yourself in something like that, to be constantly drawing upon. Yes, exactly. In the music, the moment. You better never let it go. It's.
I didn't have to say anything. I
got
to nod my head, and you knew.
I knew. I was locked in. I got you, boo.
Sorrowful,
but yeah,
the part of them that remains themselves, that has not been totally consumed by the blade, is mourning what they are becoming, but they don't know how to turn back.
It's sort of reminiscent of like, it's sort of reminiscent of like Death Knights in like D&D, which are like I mean, they're specifically undead guys that are like, yeah, I like fucked up in my charge, and so much so that I am gonna be an undead guy about it until like that is put right, but in a very cringe and like fucked up way.
I was thinking of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of that. Let's let Zad in, who's trying to get in here.
Okay. I feel like sorrowful is, if you think about, like, if we could pick, to me, sorrowful feels like it's an interesting decision to make for like how one of them is dealing with the loss of identity, or being subsumed into something other than themselves. It just does not feel like an underlying motivation for the group as a whole necessarily, or I don't know if it's the most interesting one. I think the selfishness as an underlying motivation for the group is interesting, and like the sorrow is a response to the selfishness, or the brutality is a response to the selfishness. That's why I'm almost thinking like selfish and selfish and maybe like brutal, because this is a violent organization that is seizing this power and losing themselves to it, and they have different responses. So somebody becomes particularly cruel, somebody becomes very sad. Like, this reads as, this is the list of all of the guys. You've got your one that is turned into torturing people. There's your like charismatic revival leader. And I think if you can to give them a third that differentiates them as individuals, to me might be the way forward if we can pick the two that form the core of who these people are. If we think that the core of who these people are is sad, that's something. It's very elven. I just don't know if that's like, I guess it depends. Like what is First of 10 feeling? We don't know. As the central figure to all of this. Is it selfish and nihilistic?
Ooh.
Lex has a pitch.
Yeah, Lex, what you got?
I hear you on sorrow not necessarily being a motivator for an entire force, but hear me out. Allow me to paint you a word picture for a minute. You see a shambling knight with armor up. Well, okay, goodbye. Fuck you.
Ben said, actually, I'm good. I don't want to work.
He said, let me paint you a picture. And Ben said, how about you don't?
I'm sorry. What did we land on something?
No.
Paint it for me, Lex.
So you see a knight with armor like made of bone, grown over its body, dragging an unnaturally large sword in the dirt behind it. Its face hidden behind like a blank face of the bone that grew around it. But all you can hear from it is crying, and despite the fact there are no eyes, tears still flow. Like that's what came to my mind the second we said sorrowful. Like just like some
maybe that's the end stage. That is the end stage for a Fell Knight.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling like selfish and brutal personally. I feel like feels like a good home for the organization as a whole.
I'm really curious at what your pitch for charismatic was going to be, because I was also just looking at that in a very like in a way that's like the charisma not in necessarily inherently charm, but in like force of personality, and in like also that like even to a little bit of like the seductive nature of power type of a thing. That it's like you look at that and you're like, it's sort of awe-inspiring and terrifying, but there's no denying that that is a force that you are seeing. I think a pitch that you could have for that.
I guess what I'm formulating in my, and this isn't necessarily like attendant to the conversation we've been having, but like positioning First of 10 as a leader and the Dawnbreaker as a sort of new ideal of the world order that they are attempting to create is founded on the Dawnbreaker. And it's like, okay, everything that we do, the world that we create, the thing that comes after what we're doing right now is whatever the Dawnbreaker wants, or this just absolute surrender to your base instincts, or in this case, like adopting the sword's base instincts and driving yourself so deep into that. There's an appeal to it. There's like it's like you say, that is a force. And in a hopeless world,
maybe enigmatic.
When somebody in a hopeless world, when somebody gives you something to believe in, something concrete, something real, something that it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be pleasant. You don't have to like it. This whole thing could be hell. But if you are choosing hell, if you are embracing hell, if you are saying like, we are going to make this as miserable, but they're accelerationists is what I'm pitching here. And they're saying like, you're going to burn all of this down and you're going to come along with us and it's going to be bad. You're going to suffer. Everybody you know is going to die, but at least you'll be in control of it. You can ride that lightning for a little while. Come with me.
Well, that kind of still pinged sorrow to me, like because that pinged as sorrow charismatic. I was like, because you said hopeless and everything's bad, and they go, hey, everything's bad. Here's a lighter. You know, but also ultimately, yeah.
I like this might be something where we have a hard time actually pinning down the exact word, but I really like them as a parallel to like charismatic accelerationists, charismatic nihilists, like the embodiment of temptation itself. Like it is tempting to succumb to these things, you know.
We want to just put like selfish and tempting or like alluring. Like grab our own word.
Enigmatic. I feel like enigmatic kind of encapsulates some of the things that we've seen that we've discussed, just different facets of it.
I feel like that's a little bit. I feel like enigmatic is a little bit too mysterious, though, right? Because I feel like this is actually very clear cut in what it is trying to be or what it is telegraphing to you. And like to Zad's point, that's something that is appealing of being like, you are making this choice to do this thing. Nobody can take that choice from you, even if that thing is a bad thing. You are like, I have the agency to do this.
I would call them provocative. Selfish provocateurs.
Ooh, yeah.
I think I like because to me it's like, oh yeah, you don't like your boss? Just fucking kill him. Why are you not just fucking stab him and do whatever the sword tells you? And everyone like whatever you want. Why don't you just do that? And that is like like for people who don't like where they're at, that could be like a really hard thing to say no to.
Okay. Yeah. At the very least, I'm definitely on the charismatic train. And then the other word we can argue on, but like ultimately I think we have like a vibe. Like I'm sold on the vibe, whether or not we have the right words.
Yes, the vibe is really good. I really like it. They also get a layer. We stamp down a layer. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in Tarsig, but yeah, the Fell Knights do have a layer. Is it grand, imposing, macabre, gothic, ruined, futuristic, moving, or hidden?
All right, hear me out. Moving and hidden.
What is its means?
Only because my brain went, I don't know how those fit together. I want it.
I mean, I think you can make a really good argument for something that is hidden because it is constantly on the move. That anytime you hear about it being like, oh, yeah, they're over here, you go look over there, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, like you can get in from anywhere if you know how.
My other thought was moving macabre for Flesh Castle.
You hate to have a flesh castle. Nope. I hate that.
Nope.
Who's flesh?
What if?
Rob? Who's flesh?
The castle's duh.
You know,
what are you talking
about? Zad has pitched in chat because I think Zad's dealing with some latency. They actually meet at the Dawnbreaker Cathedral in Dowleth area,
which would be gothic.
Gothic and ruined.
Ruined.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Part of me was leaning towards imposing because we talked about how like the like seductive charisma. They would have like a very imposing, impressive place where they draw other people in to follow their cause, so they can.
Well, then
they're going for.
You might be better with grand for that then, rather than imposing, because you want to like pull people in, entice them rather than instill fear.
Can I help us answer this question by asking another question?
Of course.
How secretive do we think these guys are?
We've already established they're like you can spot them on fucking sight.
I don't think if you know what to look for.
If you know what you're looking for.
Like if you don't know about the Century Knights, then you're not going to know what a Fell Knight is or how to spot it.
True.
I have
this kind of feels like a thing that is almost because like it from my talking to Ben, there is almost this like way that the swords communicate with you like intrinsically. Like it's not like they're necessarily speaking to you. It's like this just like you have this understanding, you have this feeling. And so this could just be a thing because we're all Century Knights that is like it's clear on sight to us, to people who are Century Knights.
Yeah,
it's
we can
not
spot a
necessarily
Century Knight and
to
can
other people.
Definitely see that something's wrong with that one.
Yeah. Or like it can just be like a feeling, like it's like a you know?
I have another question. Is this even an organization? Are these Fell Knights working together?
Or there's a bunch of individual dudes.
We actually
it was more going to be that.
Yeah, and there might be some who kind of like band together because they have like similar goals, but I don't think there's like a grand organization of Fell Knights.
I think that question is going to get answered in the aspects.
That will actually get answered in the aspects.
So
then I was gonna say if that is the case, if they're a bunch of individual dudes, but they still have a lair. My question is, do they have individual lairs? And we're describing the individual ones.
So one of the reasons I like the Dawnbreaker Cathedral, which for newer folks is like the last place that we saw this like honestly eldritch blade that basically grants wishes in like monkey paw wishes, right?
Something like that. We have no idea what it actually does. We just know the theories.
Notoriously difficult to access.
So I like the idea that if the like one of the major through lines for Fell Knights is like the desire to like find the Dawnbreaker, worship the Dawnbreaker, make the Dawnbreaker like the de facto kind of like power in the weave. I think like having a lot of Fell Knights like take like a pilgrimage to that cathedral and like kind of as like a locus of their activity feels like fitting.
Do they want that though? Or just
maybe their blades want them to and they just end up going kind of against their will.
Yeah, I think there is it could be that there isn't necessarily a grand organization, but rather if you fall, you will eventually find your way to Dowletheria because the blade will encourage you to go there and you will likely meet other Fell Knights there and just sort of congregate. Like everyone has their quote own reason for going to the cathedral, but the actual reason is they were corrupted by the blade and the blade sent them there.
Oh yeah, in that case, Gothic and ruined because there was also that like week-long earthquake that happened when the bridge was in Dowletheria. There's a lot of bad times that happened.
No,
super haunted out there.
Deeply cursed.
Incredibly
super
haunted.
duper haunted.
All
So
right,
many ghosts.
let's get into some aspects. Remember, we can
so
only choose each one
spicy.
once. I forgot that for the I forgot that when we did the Star Conquerors,
Okay.
but we
First
can
one.
remember this. Each one we can only use one number each time. The options are numbers, which is how many there are, infamy, which is how well known they are and what people think of them, ideology, which is more or less like what their intentions are, allies, who they actually partner with, and enemies. Who would like to start one?
So
I'm
I mean,
looking at
for
number two
numbers,
ideology. I'm looking at number 2
I think,
or 3 for ideology.
I was thinking number 4 for ideology.
Okay, let's look at ideology.
Yeah, let's look at that one.
Ideology. A 5. The Fell Knights have good intentions, but their methodology is distasteful. 4. There isn't much of an ideology behind the Fell Knights apart from selfishness. They do what they want because they have the power to do it. 3. They pursue power, wealth, and domination. They are willing to reforge the world in order to make it fit their grasp. 2. They follow a strange and extreme ideology, or an understandable one to the point of extreme excess. Or 1. The Fell Knights want to take horrible revenge upon the world or even universe. They want to use this power to introduce suffering worse than death upon all things. I think probably not one or two.
Well, because remember we said like everything's bad. Here's a lighter. That sounds like 1 to me.
It could also fit with number 2, and if there is that sort of intrinsic devotion to the Dawnbreaker, which by some is believed to be an implement of perfect violence.
That is the phrase we use. Implement of perfect violence.
Yeah, that is the Dawnbreaker. So 2 was the Knights follow a strange.
Good.
2 was the Knights follow a strange and extreme ideology, or an understandable one to the point of extreme excess. They might want to blot out the sun, or they wish for liberation at the cost of exterminating their enemies. 2 actually really fits the "we're going to burn the world down" vibe.
Yeah. I think that tracks to me as like honestly sounds like the kind of person who would use the Dawnbreaker, right? Like I don't care the cost. I want X done, and I don't care that it could like ruin the world.
I also appreciate that too. Go ahead, Bree.
I was gonna say that also leaves us to use number 1 for infamy, but you could continue your point.
Right. I also appreciate that it explicitly states that it's an understandable ideology pushed to the point of extreme excess. Like we're still like this ideology is still relatable. It is just way too far.
Because ultimately, what the Century Knights are doing, it's colonizers be gone, and Fell Knights are like everyone be gone, right?
Can't have any colonizers if everyone's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that they'll stop after the Empire's gone. And then looking at infamy, so 5 Fell Knights are considered a joke or a nuisance. 4, they are considered a legend or a fairy tale. They're taken less seriously than Century Knights. Fell Knights are respected as the most capable warriors on the planet. Many top Fell Knights were considered above the best Century Knights in skill. 2, the Fell Knights are force feared by kingdoms and individuals alike. Many are afraid to even whisper their names, and fewer still would ever be willing to cross them. And one kind of ties back to something that was mentioned earlier about like Cosmic Knights being able to recognize other Cosmic Knights. No average person can tell the difference between a Fell Knight and a Century Knight. They assume all crimes committed by Fell Knights are also your crimes.
Let's go. I like it. 1.
That's pretty fucking cool.
For me, it's 1 or 3, but I think 1 fits the best.
For me, it's 1 or 5. The 5 is something that I've maybe got cooking in the background as that may or may not pan out, but I think 1 or 5.
5 is probably how the Empire propaganda portrays them.
I will say also it's important to keep in mind that we can only apply each of these numbers once, and I kind of think that 5 for enemies is like a very good one. Because it's all about the contention between Fell Knights and like the not Fallen Knights. And if you have that be true and you have number 1 be true, it's this like constant sort of butting of heads between like
I do love it.
It would be pretty fun
just
that
for the
Cosmic
listeners,
Blade hates them.
Faye hopped down to enemies, and Faye really wants number 5 for enemies because number 5 is the Cosmic Blade itself sees the Fell Knights as an enemy and will favor knights who oppose them. What I think is hilarious about that is that means there's a bunch of Fell Knights going to Dowletheria to worship the Dawnbreaker, which is the Sentry Blade, and the Dawnbreaker fucking hates it.
Let's go.
Like these motherfuckers.
Thank you for listening to the Game Woven podcast. Today's episode featured the entire cast, including me, P.T. Benjamin, Lex Olden as Paul Day, Emily, Faye, Rob, Zad, and Bree. For more of Game Woven, you can find us on Blue Sky at Game Woven. And if you would like to support us on Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/GameWoven. Thank you.